It's about that time for another assault on your ears. This is Lower Dorks, a Star Trek Lower Decks podcast. Tonight, on our screens is a double feature, and in our cups is a double of... This is just more moonshine, isn't it?
You know, I felt so bad after your bad experience last episode, and I had such a good experience, so I wanted to drink more of my apple pie Old Smoky moonshine, so... This is what we're doing this time.
There
like
it
I
is.
said, I'm drinking more apple pie.
There it is. Nothing to do with me. It is all about you wanting more of that apple shine.
Yeah, it definitely just tastes more like I'm just drinking apple pie, but it has booze in it. So
yes.
It's still great. But what did you pick up this time?
So the good news is, I went back to the well and gave myself a draw of some more Old Smoky. But this time I went for the Hunch Punch, an old favorite. It is delicious. And, I had a thought that Blue Flame was obviously terrible. And I thought, I wonder, it doesn't mix with any mixers. But what if it mixes with other booze? And it doesn't. It just made the Hunch Punch worse. It was a bad idea. I should have never done this. Regrets were had.
That sounds terrible.
So is what's happening is
straight in the trash.
With every drink, I am just adding another little bit of the Hunch Punch. It's steadily getting better and better. I will say that.
The more drunk you get, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, I don't think there's any level of drunk that can save the Blue Flame. It's just getting the proper ratio of Blue Flame to Hunch Punch, which is like 1 Blue Flame to 99 Hunch Punch.
I can see that. And at least then you'll at least get through the Blue Flame in like a week?
Yeah, no. I'm never going to get through all of this. It's oh God, it's so bad.
It's that bad.
It is awful.
Well, enjoy that Hunch Punch. I had it before and it's quite tasty. So
yes,
it's
indeed.
A good choice.
And if the apocalypse ever comes, I'll have Blue Flame to get me through at least a few days.
There you go. Yeah, that booze will get you through the apocalypse for sure.
Anyways, so
we're here to talk about season 5.
We got a whole new season.
2 episodes.
Let's talk about this.
They did the double episode drop as they did in at least the last season, maybe more. I think they've done it more than once, possibly. But they've got 2 episodes. They did Dos Cerritos and Shades of Green. And usually I would give my own synopsis of these episodes. But I noticed that Paramount Plus does their own terrible synopsis, and I think we should just talk about those because I think the metadata on the Paramount Plus could use some work. But you know what? We could talk about it and see how accurate they are. So
I think you may be pronouncing the episode wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, according to Paramount Plus, it's actually Dos Cerrito.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Got some metadata problems there. I think you're missing an S there.
That poor intern is not getting brought back next season.
Did anyone notice though? That's the big thing.
Oh well, they're going to notice now because everybody's talking about it.
Because we're raking them over the coals. Yeah, it's not Dos Cerrito. Although maybe it should be Dos Cerrito. Who knows?
I don't speak Spanish. I don't know what it is. Is that Spanish? I assume it's Spanish.
It is.
I mean, Dos is, but is Cerritos? What does that even mean?
I looked it up before. Cerrito is Little Hill in Spanish.
So it's 2 little hills.
So
got it.
2 little hills.
Got it.
But the description Paramount Plus has for Dos Cerritos is a spatial anomaly forces the Cerritos crew to face their own faces. Tendy pirates. Do you feel like that's accurate?
Well, so hold on a second. I feel like we're missing an important period in there. Because are their own faces Tendy pirate faces? Because that doesn't track with the episode at all.
No, they're trying to do the A plot B plot.
Yes.
God. Mild success on that.
I mean, I guess it works. I mean, I don't think
Tendy does technically pirate.
Well,
2 words of the B plot. That's true.
Is pirate a verb? I don't think pirate's a verb.
I think you can pirate. Yeah, you can pirate video games.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it is a verb. Man, I need to go back to 3rd grade English.
Oh boy. But yes, okay, so I think like it's a little sparse, but it gets the job done. They do in fact face their own faces. and Tendy does in fact pirate. So I'll give that a pass.
I feel like they were trying to be witty here, and they just kind of fell down on the job. Stavros.
You only have so many characters to describe it.
Maybe you should send them some pointers. I'm sure they'd appreciate
I'll drop
that.
some guidelines. Yeah, some random guy sending them metadata pointers.
Or maybe some pointers, if you will.
Oh, yes. Well, let's talk about the next episode, too, because that one's called Shades of Green. And you know what? Pointers are not mentioned in the little blurb about the episode. But it goes, Tendy races to stop a conflict, while Boimler and Mariner race to stop capitalists. So both Tendy and Boimler Mariner are stopping things. I think this is another, it gets the gist, but perhaps not quite as accurate as you might want it to be.
I mean, yeah, it's basically what's going on in the episode, right? I mean...
Are we giving him a pass if it's just mostly correct?
I'll give him a C-. A
C-.
They're not coming back next year, so, I don't need to flunk them.
Yeah.
Ooh, if we flunk them, does that mean they have to come back next year? And we get a whole new season? Is that how this works?
I like this strategy. Let's try it. Let's flunk them no matter what.
F. I give them an F.
Redo again, guys.
Repeat the 5th grade, guys.
But are you ready to jump into the nitty-gritty of each episode?
Am I ever really ready for this? I feel like we talk about this every time, sometimes. And I'm just like, I am woefully unprepared. Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Hey, as long as you're not so drunk as you can't even say woefully, then I think we're okay.
Oh man, I feel like woefully is not that hard to say drunk. I feel like there's she sells seashells by the seashore. God damn it!
I'll ask you at the end of the episode and see how well you can say woefully. How about that? But let's talk about the updates to the intro sequence. As usual, there is a battle update. But before we even get to the battle update, there is the I don't know what you call it, like behind when the Lower Decks logo shows up.
Yeah, the warp
it's got
whoosh,
like the whoosh.
Because in the original one, all the names,
it's just the logo.
Well, the names and the titles would all flow in with that little background logo, and then right. Is that going to be a thing for this whole season? I didn't pay attention in episode 2. Is this sticking around?
It's still there.
Oh wow,
yeah, I think so.
Going full TNG with that nonsense. I see what's up.
Yeah. I'm kind of on board with it. I like TNG. It's my favorite show. And so any additional references to it.
Fucking plebeian up in here. TNG is my favorite.
Anyway, so that's one of them. The big battle update. There are multiple updates to that big battle.
I don't even know where to start on this. There's so much going on. I know.
Yeah. I think the obvious one is the giant green hand. The
hand of Apollo.
Hand.
Yeah.
Apollo. Yes, Apollo hand. Yeah.
2 moons for Adonis. Yeah. So, and here's an interesting thing. We had a comment on our last episode's upload to YouTube because I had commented on, hey, there's this girl with this laurel wreath on her head. What's that all about?
Uh-huh.
And he's all like, this is probably a reference to Apollo in this TOS episode. And now we're getting another TOS Apollo reference. I think he may be right. I think this guy's onto something, Stavros. You better mind your P's and Q's, buddy. I may have a new co-host.
I was making that joke. I might have a new co-host. We're gonna have some competing podcasts.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what else is in this scene? Oh, there's Tholians.
Yes.
Why Tholians?
Yeah, the Tholian ones.
Where did they come from?
Yeah, making the web. I don't know. They're there and they're making a web, and I love the detailing because when the Cerritos turns around and leaves, they pass by the Tholian making the web. So, and as we all know, the Tholian web constricts once they actually complete it. So,
yeah,
I think the Tholians are going to come out on top on this battle. They're just going to crush everything.
So we didn't see Tholians in a previous season. Is there a season 5 link to Tholians? When did they first show up?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Have they been in the show at all?
Well, I mean,
not that I can recall.
Not in Lower Dorks. Lower Decks. Jesus, cut that out.
The last time we've seen them as Enterprise, right?
Yeah. Were they they were in season 5 of Enterprise, right? Maybe that's the connection.
Mm-hmm. I see what they did there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 5 Enterprise. Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
maybe. I mean, I feel like we're clutching at straws here, but
Yeah.
And of course,
Enterprise only made it to 4 seasons.
Yeah, wait, Enterprise only made it to 4? I thought they got canceled after season 5.
I think they only made it to through season 4.
Oh dear. I don't remember. I remember that season 1 felt like 7 seasons.
Like in a good way or
in a bad way?
Yeah.
That's not true. Enterprise had its ups and downs. I'm not going to hate too much on Enterprise.
But Tholians, okay, so Tholians has 2 things, but then if you pay super close attention, you get to the blue electrical clouds of V'ger showing up right at the end.
Yes, and you pointed this out to me.
3 new elements.
I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either. I had to rewatch it. I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, right. It makes the spooky sounds too, so...
Yeah.
It's got a little of everything in there now. But they really took out all the stops now.
Yeah, but it didn't make the sounds in the opening sequence. It just showed up. There was no whom.
I think it does. It makes some sounds.
It does not make the whom sound. Come on, man. This is not true.
We'll go and take a look.
Well, you know what? I might just do that. It's very important to me in my life that I'm able to prove you wrong.
I wish you luck.
Especially since you already got me on Enterprise. You are right. It was 4 seasons. But you know what? It was the last season of Enterprise that the Tholians showed up in.
There you go.
Boom. We have our connection.
That's a connection. There we go. I love it. Well, should we move on to Dos Cerritos then? Or Dos Cerrito if you enjoy the metadata on Paramount Plus?
No, I think we've done enough here today. I think we can rest on our laurels. Of course, talk about the episode. It's what we're here for,
Let's
man.
Do it.
Let's get this thing
I know. I'm excited. So there are 2 main plots in this. It's I called it the Dos Cerritos plot, where the second Cerritos actually shows up, where they have 2 of them at one point. And then there's the Tendi pirating plot. Which do you want to talk about first? Because the Tendi pirating does show up first, but it does mix it up between the 2.
You know what? Let's start with the Dos Cerritos plot, because the Tendi plot is decent, right? It's entertaining. But man, this is probably one of my favorite plots from the series so far. I love this good. From beginning to end.
It is really good.
So where do we want to start? Do we want to start right at the beginning? With the,
I think I want to talk about the Fleet
magazine. Like that's what I'm alluding to. We need to start with Fleet magazine. Oh my God.
I love this because I've seen a lot of fan magazine style stuff, but I've never seen it inside universe before. And this must be super giddy for those people that actually do these outputs of these like magazine style things. So what stood out for you?
Oh boy. So I just want to talk about the articles real quick. Klingon Couture, Blood is the New Black.
Yeah.
What is that article possibly about? Like, what are they trying to tell Starfleet crew members? I feel like this is a... oh, man. Like, are they talking about you need blood-colored outfits? Or are they talking about your outfit should be soaked in
literal blood?
I feel like one of these is not very Starfleet. And then, of course, you've got the Q-Hue, the Continuum Awaits. I feel like there is no thought behind this. They just threw it on there. Like, I mean, what, did they interview a member of the Continuum? I mean, or is the implication that you too can join the Continuum? What's going on here?
Great question.
I feel like this...
No one knows.
I feel like they threw this thing on there and they did not put enough thought into it. And I'm very disappointed. And my day is ruined.
Oh, but the Riker thing, that was good.
Best for last. Top 10 Riker moments. Amazing. And here's my thing. Are they just like poring over Riker's like logs and trying to find when he did like badass stuff, right?
Or is it just like anecdotal, like the Riker maneuver seats, or, you know, him yelling a specific order?
Or is it like, I served with Riker on the Enterprise when he was a commander, and you know, he did this really cool thing where he stepped over the backs of seats. It was awesome.
That very well could be it.
Of course, you know,
who knows?
If we're talking about the Riker maneuver, I'm going to go a little out of order here. Did you see the reverse Riker maneuver at the end of the episode?
So good.
With
so
parallel
good.
Boimler. Oh my god, so good.
Yeah.
So
that was great.
Good.
I want to talk about parallel Boimler at some point too. But man, the reverse Riker maneuver, that was amazing.
Fantastic.
You have to be like over a certain height in order to like reverse Riker maneuver? Or is it easier?
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, I mean, obviously, yes. If you're like, 4 foot nothing, you're not going to be doing the Riker maneuver. But, like, that was the thing in TNG. They had so many seats with just insanely low backs for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. It's funny, back, on the topic of Fleet Magazine, pretty much everything I called out is different from the stuff you called out. For instance, the name of the magazine, it's like an in-universe use of the
TNG font?
Title font. Yeah, that's crazy. And at the bottom, in fine print, it says Trekonomics. So, like, is Trekonomics like an in-universe canon thing now?
Well, I mean, we don't know what that article is about. Maybe like they're talking about, personal capital, and they're talking about how to wield and grow that. You don't know.
Yeah, and travel their money.
And there's like
that's what Trekonomics is, right?
I don't know, dude. I have no idea. But the thing is, we don't know what the article's about. But the thing is, there's also like 2 other things on there, but I can't remember what they were, except that they weren't really that interesting. It's like discoveries and tributes. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
Seems dumb.
But the other thing that stood out to me is apparently the Voyager style uniforms or early DS9 style uniforms still getting used
when they're flipping through the 30 under 30. It's a whole bunch of different uniforms.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering,
it's mostly like late DS9 and
yep.
And a couple of Voyager style.
Yeah.
So I wonder what's going on there. Do you think that just kind of snuck through, or is that like a purposeful, like the uniforms are still in rotation?
I don't know. I'm wondering if uniforms are kind of like the insignias in the original series, where like, we all know the Delta and it's like, oh, it's the Starfleet logo. But originally, no, that was just the logo of the Enterprise, right? Every ship had its own logo. Maybe like uniforms are kind of like that, where a uniform is an indicator of what kind of ship you serve on, right?
Right.
I don't know.
It's still just in use, just somewhere, I mean, we're trying to justify what could easily just be explained away as a art lapse, I guess.
Maybe that uniform is the Frontier jumpsuit, right? And we've always assumed that DS9 switched over because, that was becoming the standard Starfleet uniform. But what if that's not the case? What if they switched over because they were no longer considered a frontier station? What if they were considered a major fleet hub, and that's why the uniform changed?
Yeah.
That's my fan theory, and I'm sticking to it.
None of that is really ever talked about in universe. So,
do they ever talk about why they're wearing uniforms?
I don't think so. I think Voyager very briefly talks about like the new uniforms existing.
Yeah. And I think Sisko talks about how, he uses uniforms to identify who he can kill and who he can't. But
that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I love the idea of the Fleet magazine. I love that Boimler steals the alternate universe Fleet magazine. Did you take a look at that cover too?
I didn't.
It's got Boimler right on the cover. I love it. It quotes him from the recruitment drive thing where Boimler's like losing his mind. It like literally says on the cover, "We just want to explore and study effing quasars." on it, which seems like it's taking him out of a lot of context when he's going bananas there. But I love that it's on there and it's right out of another episode.
That is amazing. I did not even notice that was on the pad. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It also mentions the Boimler effect. But, I mean, usually when it says something like that on the cover of a magazine, it's like, ooh, Boimler has had such an effect. But, of course, we know the Boimler effect is the formalization of buffer time aboard the Cerritos.
I like that if that's in his article, Boimler has to parallel Boimler. I keep calling him mirror Boimler. He's not mirror Boimler. He's parallel Boimler.
Parallel.
He must have embraced that to a certain extent. And that seems really on brand for parallel Boimler.
I think it really does. It really is, yeah. But yeah, I love the Fleet magazine. I hope we see more of it. I guess even in episode 2, they do reference it a little bit because Boimler's trying to imitate that. But we'll see if it reappears later in the season. Yeah. I feel like it probably won't. It's like a one-off, but we'll see.
And I had always assumed that pad that he got had Parallel Boimler's personal logs, and that's what Boimler was reading. But apparently it's an article, you're saying.
Yeah. It's the Boimler, like, on the cover of the Fleet magazine.
Yeah, and I know he mentioned that at one point, but I didn't realize that was the whole thing. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? But
yeah, so that's that. How do you like the little Calto appearance in Lower Decks? I don't think it's shown up before, right? This is the first time it's shown up?
You know, maybe, I don't know. The thing I like about Calto is, like, it feels like a real game. It's very logical. When they play it, it's very obvious to identify the rules, and it makes perfect sense how it works. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Wait, are you really not going to push back on that at all? I know you think Calto is ridiculous. That is the reason.
It is ridiculous.
Oh, God. See, I was going to let it slide because this effort to set up a gag, and you're just like, I'm going to let him do it. I don't have the energy to argue with Aaron today. It's so disappointing.
If you like ridiculous games, I feel like that's your right. Okay, I'm not going to judge you for liking stupid stuff.
Don't not judge me when I'm trying to get you to judge me.
Jump when I say jump. No, Calto is ridiculous, and you're crazy if you like it.
Oh my God! It makes no sense whatsoever. Like,
anyway, so we get a first look at how Rutherford is handling things without Tendi there, and Rutherford's not doing so great.
Falling apart. That is not a sign of a healthy relationship.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, we're going to talk about how Tendy's doing later, but Tendi is not so distraught. It's mainly on Rutherford's side. I mean, Tendi wants to get back too, but she's not falling apart like Rutherford is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, she's busy, right? Like, she has a path to get back to Rutherford. Rutherford doesn't, so he's just got to pour his energy into doing whatever.
Yeah, that is true.
But also, I mean, that's his arc in the episode, right? Is to get to the point where he's, more of a healthy human being, not relying on one other person to fill his social needs.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, it does seem a little unhealthy. I mean, I kind of got, it's like, I miss Jennifer too, but I mean, Rutherford's got to get his act together.
And unfortunately, this episode and that whole situation, I think I got to give up on the Rutherlips, sadly.
Yeah, Billups doesn't really get a lot of time with Rutherford in general, aside from the whole dragon.
You know what? I've been carrying that torch for 5 seasons now.
I think you should keep with it.
And there's a moment where you just gotta extinguish it.
Just let it go.
This isn't the Olympics torch. I don't have to get it to the next relay runner. There's nobody waiting to carry it to conclusion. I gotta let it go.
I think you're in the right to do that. One thing I really wanted to mention: we get critical information about Mariner in this episode, and we're going to talk more about the duplicate soon. But it's confirmed that Mariner is Beckett Freeman's middle name, Beckett Mariner Freeman.
Did we know just this goes by before?
Mariner this whole time. I don't think so. We've guessed that it was. I think our the best thing we could come up with is that her mother had taken her father's name after remarrying or something like that.
Yeah, but and now it turns out
it's confirmed.
I also like the fact though that everybody only knows her by that name, even though she has to have a personal record somewhere. That kind of carries an implication that in the future of Starfleet, it's a big challenge we're facing in the world right now, is people who want to be identified by their chosen name. And there's this whole legal nightmare you have to go through to get that change, depending on, where you live. And I like the fact that there's an implication in Star Trek that a name is just a name, and it's not a huge deal for you to be able to live by your chosen name.
Yeah, I really like that too. I think it's very forward-facing that Mariner can actually control what her name is and how people know her. And, it's, even if it is her middle name, she's obviously made that choice to separate herself from her parents. And you know what? It's very, very future-looking, and I can appreciate it.
Although I do kind of wonder what that means, that her evil parallel version chose to go by her mother's name. What does that say about her worldview?
Yeah, I think it's she's obviously trying to be more stand-up, I guess. I mean, captain-y, for whatever that means to her.
Yes.
So, for better or worse. But let's actually segue into all the other alternate or parallel versions of the characters.
Before we do that, can I comment on something? So when they get the initial hail and it's, Mariner, Captain Mariner, Freeman, whatever.
Yeah.
On the other side of the view screen, I love how everybody on our Cerritos looks at Beckett like she knows something. Like, why would she have any
this is your fault
here?
Or,
are you blaming Mariner or what's going on here? Oh man.
Yeah, she somehow has all the answers. Yeah, it's pretty great.
But yeah, do we want to talk about the other
we absolutely
parallel
should
versions?
Yes, but before we do though, did you notice that the uniforms of all the parallel characters are slightly darker?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Super
because
weird.
They're evil, or I don't know.
But the thing is, they're not evil, right? They all seem like they're fine. It's just and even like parallel Mariner, like a lot of the talk online is that she's evil Mariner, but she's not really evil. She's in over her head and making insanely bad decisions because of it.
Yeah, what's the difference there? She had become what she despised and wanted to get back to being how our Mariner is, basically, is her whole gimmick, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not even that she became what she despised, I think, to a certain extent. It's that, she got into a role that she did not want, and whatever happened that led... Yeah, whatever happened that led to her mom going to away obviously messed her up pretty good, and she obviously just kind of went way in the wrong direction, and had no way out, which led to all the A plot of this episode. Yeah.
I like how Mariner's just why don't you just deal with this in a normal way, what everyone's thinking. Why don't you just rescind your position or whatever? Who do you want to talk about next? There's so many options.
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about Shax.
Shax.
Yeah.
They're the same. They just have different hairstyles.
I love it. And that's it. They immediately bond over their hatred of Cardassians.
I love it. Good for Shax. Yeah. He's the same in every parallel universe. I'm just going with that.
And then, of course, I've got Billups on my list. We really do need to talk about King Billups.
Yeah. How is he both king and still chief engineer? He can have both jobs?
It's good to be king, right? You can do whatever the F you want when you're king. But here's the real question, the unanswered question from this episode, right? That never gets addressed, that really should have. And I feel like we can't go forward in the season without this being dealt with at some point. Who did Billups have sex with? Right? Because he had to do that to become king. I think we're all... Is that
why Otherford turned himself into a robot? Is because he couldn't recover? That's the real reason. It wasn't Tendi leaving. It was his experience with Billups.
Moving on. Billups is no longer available. But I think the real thing here is Mike McMahon, we need to see Billups' sex tape. I mean, there needs to be answers here. And if we don't get them before the end of the season, I'll feel like this whole series was a waste.
Just throw the entire series in the trash.
Yep. Too many unanswered questions, and too many is one, but it's the right question.
It's the right question. Yeah, well, that's certainly an opinion, all right.
Oh, man. So who do you want to talk about next?
Captain Freeman we talked about already.
Yeah, a lot of the characters are just the same, right?
Yeah.
What'd
you think about your boy Ransom?
Dude, I fucking love Ransom and Parallel Ransom. Can't even insult each other.
Aggressively in love with each other.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, just the angry, you steamy hunk. Oh my god. So good.
Can you imagine their makeup sex though?
Oh my god, I don't want to imagine that, dude. Why are you putting that in my head?
I thought you'd already thought about it, but
jeez, dude, why?
You say so.
I mean,
one
Jerry O'Connell is enough, right? I don't need two. Ugh.
Yeah, and now you got two. All floating around rent free. Yeah, you're welcome. How about Talim with they're the same except they just use a different word.
I thought that was pretty good. Also, I love the fact that Mariner mistakes Ertalin for parallel
That was
to
pretty
Lynn.
good.
And of course, that T'Lyn growth moment at the end where she totally does the joke. Here's my question to you, though. Do you think that was just a joke, or do you think the T'Lyn swapped places?
No, I think if we're going to talk about T'Lyn now, I think she's leaning into the not being that Vulcan-y.
Really?
She's making the jokes on purpose, and she's making personal connections in the next episode.
Yeah.
I think she's purposefully leaning away from being Vulcan-y. Yeah.
Huh.
You don't agree?
I don't know. I think you may be right, and I think I may be wrong. And that is not something I'm ready to admit at this stage of our relationship.
I'd be 3 for 3 today. This episode.
I do love the fact that, did you notice T'Lyn totally given Parallel Mariner the side eyes?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, like it seems like she was suspicious of Mariner as soon as the two Mariners swapped places.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, because,
Makes sense though.
Parallel Mariner was acting super strange, and everybody else was like, well, that's weird, but oh well. But T'Lyn is just kind of like, WTF.
Oh,
yeah.
She suspected the whole time.
I suspect she suspected the whole time. Which is great on the animator's part to throw that in there. That's really,
good.
Subtle animation cues, which I never expect. I expect Yogi Bear level of animation in everything I watch.
Yeah,
where
makes
it's
sense.
the same 5 frames repeated over and over again.
Yeah. Isn't the Yogi Bear cartoon like 40 years old now or something?
Hey,
More than
you know
that,
what?
60 years old?
I mean, there's always room for picnic baskets.
Oh, God. How about Otherford? Cute name, by the way. I appreciated that.
Did
you like the creep out third arm?
Was it creepy? I thought it was cute. It's
really
every time it pops up, it's fantastic to give the hug when Rutherford mentions it.
Yeah.
I do have one problem with that. Jiggering with somebody's mind seems like kind of unethical.
Yeah. I thought he was that without consent too. He just walks up to him and starts like pushing buttons,
Yeah, but it's like parallel him. So is there like some point where you get to say, it is me, so therefore I know better? Like, where does that line get drawn?
I don't think so. There's some ethics questions here.
But
I don't think so. It's another sovereign person. You can't just walk up to them and start hacking their brain.
Yeah.
To remember friendships. That's not right, Rutherford. Prime Rutherford.
And I know it works out in the end, but it still just gives me the ick,
Yeah. Although back to the third arm, did you notice when he's working outside the ship, the third arm has like little extendo fingers, which
I thought that was his main arm.
I've seen in an anime.
Wasn't the main arm had the extendo fingers? Because he holds the pad in his third arm, and then he uses the main arm with the extendo fingers.
What's that from? Isn't that from like from an anime or something? Like
dude, I think I've seen it in many places.
It's probably in a lot of places,
with like the cyborg that his fingertips open up and like the extendo bits come out. Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah. That was a little creepy.
Body horror I'm not into. A little too much of the
this Rutherford needs to... Yeah, not a good thing. But the best parallel character is obviously the Beard Boimler.
Oh my god.
What a difference. I feel like this could easily have been... I wish that our Prime Boimler had turned into this after season 1 or 2, because I've talked at length before about how I feel like Boimler's progression is kind of erratic, because I assume because they want to keep the comedy aspect of the character.
Yeah. So I think really if we want to talk about parallel Boimler, the main focus has to be on Prime Boimler.
Yeah.
Boimler. And unfortunately, we're going to reference some stuff from next episode. We're going to go a little off the rails. We're going to reference the past. And there is a transporter clone Boimler out there that we expect to show up this season. Mm-hmm. But before we get into all of that, this episode raised a huge question for me about Boimler. And I think we need to explore this more in this season. I don't know if they will, but I feel like they kind of threw it out there. And again, something that needs to be resolved before the series is over. And that is, does Boimler have a foot fetish? Like, immediately when he's talking about parallel universes?
puts her faces.
He's all focused on feet, man. And I'm not here to judge your kink, right? If your kink ain't hurting no one, you do you, brother. But it really seems like Boimler has a foot fetish, you know?
A little foot, yeah.
Which obviously, you know, that lends credence. Tarantino wants to do a Star Trek movie. Maybe he needs to do the Lower Decks movie.
Make it happen, Tarantino. Get Jack Quaid in there, little foot action. Why not? They'll get like they'll make it big in certain circles on the internet, and we're legitimizing a thing. And oh god.
So like one of the big things about the series so far has been Boimler is hyper focused on mirroring himself on other captains, right? Or other prominent
like role models,
individuals, and everybody's been like, no, you need to be your own person. And he's kind of learned to do that throughout the series. And now this season, like we've theorized that Boimler is going to show up later. I think this season his arc is going to be about learning to not worry about what you might have done and focus on what you are doing. Because that's the whole thing. He's now obsessed with being this cooler version of himself he thinks exists out
Just
there.
another guy.
Yeah, after like, you know, a day of interaction.
Right.
And I think
he can't even grow the beard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't know that. He's just starting, dude. Cut him some slack. We all got to start somewhere.
That's the thing, though, right? Like, he's going after yet another person, yet another role model.
Yeah, rather
just happens
than
to be himself this
being
time.
his own person. Because if you remember, the one time he was left to his own devices, the one time he was forced to figure things out on his own was in the episode where they were all doing the simulations. And dude killed it. He figured out how to beat the Borg.
Yeah.
Dude, Boimler, man, you got your own thing going. Just do your thing.
He just needs to figure out how to get off social media and stop looking at role models. You know, stop looking at Fleet Magazine. Just be his own guy. That's what he needs to do.
And here's the thing. It's totally cool with him to be upset about him getting cut from Fleet Magazine, you know?
Sure.
He thought he was going to get this big honor, and then, lo and behold, it didn't happen. And, you know, I feel for that. We've all been there in life. But, you know what? Can't keep looking in the rearview mirror. As my buddy Pete used to say, I don't look in the rearview mirror, because what's behind me can't hurt me. Which, it's a great metaphor. It unfortunately is not a great way to drive.
Yeah, probably not.
Dude had a lot of accidents.
Don't focus on that.
Bad idea not to look in your rearview mirrors, kids.
You need to look in there every once in a while.
Yeah.
Did we cover all of the parallel characters?
No.
Do you have any more?
There's a character we left out.
Which is?
Captain Freeman.
Oh yeah, we did mention her a little bit, but what did she do?
I love that the whole
There's obviously Starbase 80 that happens later in the season.
So is that foreshadowing? Is that what we're going to see? Is that going to be relevant? Why did she get sent to Starbase 80? I have so many questions about this. And I love the fact that like the entire episode, it's like, oh, it was so bad, and she's not with us anymore. And so you're expecting it to be like, she died.
Dead or whatever.
And it's like, nope, just got sent to Starbase 80. Didn't have the good sense of her daughter to just resign when that happens. So, I do want to mention one of our predictions is that they will be visiting Starbase 80 and they will need to decon gel in and out.
Absolutely.
I think you may be right about that.
That was amazing. Yeah, I think that's got to be worked in somewhere. But I was going to say, did you notice in the lounge scene where Freeman is in the bar and he's like, "Oh God, what did I do?" I love that they really show off a bottle of Cardassian Canar as seen out of DS9. It's a little random little detail, but she and Ransom are taking shots of Canar right there, all because of Starbase 80.
And it's so weird that you mentioned that scene because I watched the episode twice now. I don't remember that scene. So I'm starting to wonder, because you watch it on Paramount Plus, and I watch it on Amazon Prime. And so I'm kind of like, are the 2 episodes different? And it raises...
They can't be.
I can't imagine that they are, right?
Yeah,
but I do
don't
remember...
think so.
You know what? Are they in the... Okay, you know what? It's the same lounge scene where the lower deckers are, right?
Right. It's like the intro, the little,
yeah.
I don't know what you call it.
The
like
outro.
intro's the scene, basically.
Yeah. But there's this little bit right before. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. I just don't remember that moment.
Yeah, it's so fast, but it is chock full of that detail. I love seeing at first I was like, what is that? It's so specific. So I Googled, I was like, okay, it kind of looks like something Damara would drink, in DS9, and you just Google Kanar, and that's exactly what shows up. It's pretty good.
I just remember Kanar. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it looks like the Kanar, but it's the wrong color. Kanar was always...
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Kanar was always brown, right? Whereas the bottle is purple there. But
maybe
yeah,
it's synthahol, synth Kanar.
Synth Kanar. But it's got the right iconography. Actually, you know what? The iconography looks more Bajoran. So maybe it's like the Bajoran version of Kanar.
When Quark, I think it's a DS9 episode, Quark has some bottles of it.
It comes up a lot in DS9, right? There's the whole...
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I've still got some Kanar left over from the occupation. And then, later he's all like, yeah, I was expecting the Cardassians to occupy us a lot more, so now I've got tons of Kanar left over. It comes up a lot. But the other thing I liked about it is, I don't know if you remember, whenever they poured Kanar, it was like this syrupy texture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I can't even imagine drinking syrup alcohol.
Can you imagine trying to take a shot of syrup? How would you even do that?
You know what, Stavros? I think you have unfortunately backed us into a corner now. We're gonna make some homemade Kanar one of these episodes.
It's just 90% maple syrup and 10%, vodka or something.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Probably maple syrup and screwball or something. I don't know.
Nothing's wrong with that. I drink that.
I mean, we drink that, but there's always regrets to be had.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, man.
We're jumping around a bit. What else stood out to you? I have a bunch of random stuff that stood out. I have so
much random stuff on this. I do want to talk about, I love there's this really meta joke in the episode, and I don't know if it's intentional or not. There's a moment where a parallel mariner says, "There's no interpersonal conflict allowed on my ship." And I feel like that is a reference to the fact that in early TNG, Roddenberry was all like, there can be no interpersonal conflict on board the ship.
They've said that before in the show. But they've called that out specifically about they're not supposed to be conflict.
Yeah.
So this is not the first time this has shown up.
I don't remember it coming up before, but I just remember that phrase really got a good laugh out of me.
Yeah, that was good, yeah.
And you know what? There's something to be said about it's kind of like the levels of interpersonal conflict. You really don't want interpersonal conflict that blows up and overflows into violence and hatred in your Star Trek crew members, right? But at the same time, interpersonal conflict is fine. It's human nature. You're always going to have disagreements.
Yeah. Plus, you need it for TV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't. I feel like you can have conflict-free TV.
You can, yeah.
If they can make conflict-free diamonds, they can make conflict-free TV.
I love it.
I don't. That was a terrible joke. I barely get it myself.
Okay. That's the moonshine talking. The deflector powering up. I loved the attention to detail in the animation for this when the Cerritos are hooked up together and blasting the anomaly with whatever it is. It's straight out of TNG. I love it. Give me more TNG references with the little power up animations on the deflector. I love it. Give me more of that.
Well, and we talked about in our trailer episode where I was afraid it was going to be too much of an homage to TNG, but it's really not. It's really just visuals and the usual small references, and I'm on board for that. Yeah.
Did you notice that one of Mariner's new ensigns in the last scene of the show that she's mentoring these new group of ensigns? There's a new MERP. There's going to be a third or a fourth MERP. at this point.
I feel like it was implied that they are all merps, right?
Are they? No.
And your implication that this is a new merp is kind of racist.
They all look the same. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, well, no, they don't all look the same, but I mean, like, oh my god, it's a new merp, right? It's like, oh my god, it's a new black guy. Fucking racist, right? Jesus.
I guess I'm racist against merps. That's just how it's gonna be.
Well, I guess it's better to be racist against fictional people than real people.
That's true. We're so far into this podcast episode, and we've only talked about the A plot.
The A plot of the first episode. Yeah, let's move over to the Orion plight. I'm sorry, it's the Orions plot, if I recall correctly.
Orions.
Yeah.
So we got Tendi out here pirating, as we said. You know what? I love how she's in here doing pirating, and it's not just Orion on Orion violence, which happens later in this episode and the next one. They're straight up like stealing shit from other ships.
Yeah, they're pirates.
Yeah, they're doing pirating stuff. And you know what? Tendi doesn't want to kill people, but I guess that just makes her other pirating activities okay.
Well, I mean, you live in, like, and albeit it's not a post-scarcity universe, but it's pretty post-scarcity universe. I'm sorry, but, like, the next episode we get the exact scene, hey, I need to commandeer your vehicle. And it's like, okay, I'll just make a new one. Oh,
get a new one.
Yeah, not a huge deal.
Yeah. It's just funny that, she won't be held responsible for any of the pirating. She just, as long as she tries to stymie the killing, then it's all good.
You can always get new stuff, but you can't get a new you, Stavros.
Is that how crime works in the future? It's okay to commit crimes as long as you're just vandalizing property and not lives?
I don't think we should talk about this, because otherwise I'm going to go into a whole deep dive into sci-fi's vision of the future and all the difference. Well, Ian M. Banks proposes a universe that looks like this. But if you read any of Cory Doctorow's work, there are numerous stories set and it's going to go into this deep dive hole that we don't have time for, Stavros.
That's true.
We've already spent 40 minutes talking about the A-plot of one episode.
We're really pro at this podcasting thing.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, did you notice when Tendi deactivates the hologram, her disguise? It's like a little tiny version of the Doctor's mobile emitter from Voyager.
No, I did not notice that.
It's crazy.
And thank you for pointing that out to me.
Yeah, if you freeze frame it, it looks the same.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Yeah, you got to freeze frame it because it's so subtle, but it's definitely there.
Well, I'm glad that you did. So now I know, and as G.I. Joe taught me, knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, that's true. How did you feel about Tendi, instead of being, the agreement from last season was she was going to rejoin her family in exchange for providing the Cerritos with that battleship that they threw against the force field in the last season. But now, instead of just being permanently on the Orion's team, it's like she has this debt to repay.
Yeah.
And if only she were to repay it, then she could go back to the Cerritos. I
felt like that was a good continuation of last season's plot, right? It gives them a good out, it gives her a mission, and it makes sense. Like, you're not going to look at that and go, oh, that's dumb, right? I liked it.
I thought it kind of cheapened her sacrifice. I mean, obviously she needed an out. She needed to make her way back somehow. But having it be like, oh, it's just like a quantifiable debt to be repaid. It felt like I wanted a little more ingenuity on the out, I guess is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
No, I get where you're coming from. But unfortunately, this is a 30-minute sci-fi comedy show. And got to get back to the status quo, buddy.
That's true. You got to reestablish the status quo. And if it's going to be a debt being paid, then that's how it's going to be.
But yeah, I think we'll talk about that more in the next episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But she's going to repay the debt, using this Orion ship, this old-timey Orion ship. I love how the back end of that ship has the little spinny bits from the Strange New Worlds era Orion ship.
Yeah, and that's actually
those
even
scientists.
a callback to the TOS Orion ship, right?
Yeah.
That's where that design came from. I also like that they give a reference in this episode to why there's a difference. And this is like a pre-plague ship. And what does that mean?
What is
the
plague?
Plague?
Yeah.
It raises so many questions.
Great question.
I really hope that they follow up on that story in Strange New Worlds. I hope we get an Orion Plague story.
That would be cool. Wow, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like oftentimes the showrunners of the different Star Trek shows do not talk to each other or one another. But maybe they did in this case, and we'll actually get something out of it.
Don't be a hater, Stavros.
I only hate a little bit. I only hate to my expectations, because my expectations are high.
Yeah. Got to bring those expectations down,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why you're here.
You can't be let down if you expect everything to be trash.
Ooh, how about the Orions that are now canon?
Animated series callback, fantastic. They even pronounce it the way they did in the animated series.
I know, so good.
Oh, so good.
And it's revealed in the next episode that they're actually different Orion houses.
Yes.
Right? So there's the Tendi house, which is green, the green ones. And then the Azure house with the blue ones. And the blue guys are, of course, patriarchal.
Yep.
But, wow, I mean, it definitely, I love the world building that they've established there, that they are just different variants. I love it.
I'm on board for this. I thought it was really well done. I also like the fact that they kind of talked about why they're pirating. Actually, I think that's more in the next episode. We'll talk. Oh, no, it is in this episode.
Oh, it's in this one? Yeah, they want to dance.
Yeah, they're not just pirating because they love pirating. There's an end goal here, right? Pirating is just a stepping stone on their life journey. And I really like that. I feel like the cliche of, yo ho ho, we're pirates because, we want to be pirates. It's just dumb, right? Very few people want to live that lifestyle. And I really like that they included that in this episode.
Yeah, I was wondering, do any Orion pirates actually have pirating as their end goal, or do they all have?
There's got to be. There's always people who love violence and hate and theft and sowing misery. Those people exist,
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, it's good to flush them out like that, regardless. But of course, it all comes to a head as the Tendi faction takes over this ship and uses some laughing gas against the Azure faction.
Yeah, it's very unpirate-like behavior.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I feel like pirate-like behavior is, I steal your shit. And what happens in between?
It's immaterial, right?
Yeah,
it should be.
It shouldn't matter how I take over your ship and steal your shit. I'm pirating. It's I don't know.
That's what they do.
Fucking Orions, man, and their stupid pirate rules.
I feel like there could be something more happening here that could be related to season meta plot, possibly.
It would be interesting. I have no idea how they would tie this in.
Yeah, it's I think we've learned by now that it's an impossibility to a certain extent to try and predict what the season meta plot is going to be, especially this early. But it seemed just so random, right? Unpirate-like conduct because they used something. I mean, even Tendi says because we used Orion tech, what's the deal? And nobody is able to answer that. So maybe keep an eye on that for the rest of the season.
But I mean, that's social norms, right? How often is it we do things this way? And then you ask why, and everybody's like, that's how we do it. Nobody can tell you why.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
What else? Oh, yeah. Well, I wanted to call out at the end of the episode where Teddy is shown the hologram of a ship being attacked by the Azure Orion M-shaped ships. And we talked about this before. We're kind of guessing that that's just one of the Tendi Orion ships, basically.
Yeah, so the little ships, they're obviously just a play on the animated series ships. But the big one, I don't think I've seen that anywhere before in canon. It reminds me a little bit, it has design elements from the animated series, or not animated series, from the Star Trek Online Orion ships, which I'm willing to bet are probably a callback to probably Tabletop or one of the RPG book ships. But I've never seen that ship before, as far as I know.
Yeah. It does seem Orion. It's like similar enough to the Orion Interceptor that it could be like a capital ship version of that, but it's not really explained. That's the only way it makes sense. Is if it's a 10D Orion ship in the context it's presented. But still neat. Kind of neat to see new ships. Can't say no to new ships.
I mean, you can say no, but you'd be an idiot.
I mean, why would you, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Like I said.
New ships are where it's at, son.
That's right. What else in this episode? I had one random call out. I am not a big fan of the like bright blue sweat drops that appear on some characters in this episode. I don't know. I don't think they've been a thing before this season. Do you recall it? Am I like focusing on an insane detail here? Because I really did not appreciate them.
I didn't even notice that was a thing. So yes, you are focusing
I'm just a maniac,
on the wrong thing.
Yeah, I know it's on Becky Freeman at one point, and I think on some of the Orion guys. And I just wasn't. I think before they haven't been bright blue like that. They've just been kind of just an outline of sweat. But I hope I never see those again.
Yeah, I honestly I don't even know what you're talking about. I did not notice it anywhere.
Yeah, it shows up mainly when you can, call it up when Becky Freeman is pretending to be Mariner and declining the hail on the Prime Cerritos and stuff like that. So take a look, and people listening, you can tweet us, X us, whatever it is, and tell me I'm a maniac. But I'm not a big fan of those sweat drops.
Yep, you're a maniac. I am aware.
Should we move on to the second episode now that we're an hour into recording?
Oh my god, yeah, we got a whole nother episode to talk about. Boy, howdy.
Yeah, this one is Shades of Green. So this is the one where Tendi is assaulting they've got the sailing ship thing to deal with, the conflict with the Azures, as well as the discontinuing of capitalism on Targalis 9. And then there's the third plot, which is the Rutherford and T'Lyn interaction, very minor subplot.
Yeah, it's not even really a plot. It's just a few scenes.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's start. I don't even know. Let's start with the Orion plot. That is the one I like the least.
Okay. Even though it could be the weakest here, there are some funnies in this that I appreciated. The first of which, did you notice when Tendi and Erica are doing their battle simulation, the Azure Orions have, instead of a red laser pointer on their weapon, it's actually blue. I thought it was a funny little detail because, of course,
I did not even notice that. You were starting to make me think I'm blind.
Maybe you should see a doctor.
Okay, next thing.
The Blizzard. The Blizzard, the dragon-like thing that the Pirate Queen has.
When it gives off that ridiculous screech.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. That's like the biggest laugh I had in the entire, both the intro episodes of the Blizzard. And the funniest part is when it caws again when they're leaving the palace or whatever. You can just hear it in the distance. It's just as funny as the first time.
Out of left field. It's so
good. It's great. Yeah, I loved it. It was so good. Of course, then we've got the sailing ships, inspired by the solar sail ships when it appeared in DS9. I love the design of those. I think if you're going to go solar sail,
beautiful designs, completely ridiculous. Solar sail ships, that is not how they work. But I still love it. I'm not going to lie. I'm easy. I like things that are pretty, and I like cool scenes. So it all works for me. Yeah.
And of course, the highlight of this entire plot is basically Tendi figuring out that Erica is pregnant, and Erica doesn't want to tell her. So there's comedy hijinks ensue. There's a couple things. I mean, well, first there is the funny there where Tendi offers to Erica some fuzzy socks, and the socks are have a little cartoon head of that little insane dog that appears in TOS. The Alpha, it's called Alpha 177K9.
Yes.
And it's so cute. But also a crazy little reference there. I feel like this dog has appeared somewhere else in the show somewhere.
I feel like it showed up previously. I know. Didn't it also show up in the original animated series too?
I think so.
But
I feel like it did.
Yeah, I feel like we've referenced this previously.
Yeah. Either way, it's still cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main thing about this is I feel like, as someone who has recently had a second baby, barring serious trauma, like early stage pregnant people can still just do the same shit as everyone else.
Yeah,
so Tendy freaking out about it, like what the heck?
I definitely recall that your wife was out there pirating when she was pregnant. That is something I remember, Stavros. I feel like there are levels,
good memory.
I feel like there's levels of danger here, buddy. Going into the office, doing some filing.
Yeah. But Teddy goes don't you want to sit down and have a pillow and have a milk or something?
It's your first baby, the first one you're extra cautious.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I guess. I'm glad you're here to educate me on this.
I mean, as somebody who's never had a child, I feel like I should explain to you.
Yeah.
Since you've only
That's why I said. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh my god. Let's move on from this stupid topic.
How about Tandy just straight up making up rules? Like, hey, if I destroy the treasure, then nobody wins? She's just making up rules to try and equalize, get a tie there.
Yeah, I mean, that seems logical, It's a tie at that point. Nobody wins. That's not how
rules work.
That is how rules work, son. If it ain't spelled out...
If it's not spelled out, then it's just whatever the heck you want.
No, if it's not spelled out, you go with the logical answer.
Oh.
Don't be a hater.
I feel like you're just making up rules right now.
Oh my god. I will make up any rules I want. I do want to say one thing about the Orion pirate subplot.
Yeah.
So at the end of this whole story, they wind up making nice, right? Devana's family makes nice with the blue Orions.
Well, they get their stuff taken away, right? They're dethroned.
They lose everything. That is the end solution. But then there's a resolution to that, right? Where, Devana gets to help her family and at the same time, make peace and show that there's a better way. All that dumb shit, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
By giving them the jewels from the A-plot. And I don't know if you noticed, but two of the blue Orions, I don't know, however they pronounce it. I can't remember. Orions, yes. They just go to pick up a pallet of gold, right? They're just going to pick that thing up? Are you serious? That's going to weigh a ton. You guys are at the minimum going to throw your backs out. What are they thinking?
They weren't the sharpest tools in the shed anyway, so you shouldn't be surprised, really.
I don't know. I guess I just expected more from even Dum Dum.
Yeah, they're kind of just goofy characters anyway, so I'm not sure what you expect. They're going to try and lift that pallet and probably fail. They don't show them successfully lifting them. Well, anything else about the Tendy thing? I mean, her family gets dethroned and they get the treasure back, so status quo is sort of maintained.
I'm kind of glad that Tendy's father didn't get thrown out on the streets, because he would not survive on the streets. He is soft, and it would not have gone well for him.
Yeah, definitely not. But Tendy's back!
Yes, she's back on the Cerritos.
That's what we should get from that. Yeah, gotta appreciate that.
I mean, I don't have to appreciate it, but I do.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's the important part.
Yeah, I can do whatever the fuck I want, Stavros.
All right, let's talk about the A-plot then. I call it the Goodbye Capitalism plot. There's some stuff here to talk about. Targalis 9, the planet involved that just... They're joining the Federation and they're getting rid of their stuff, all of their stuff and money. I love the design that went into the architecture of this planet, because you don't see, you see a lot of these, I don't know what you call it, these structures up in the sky with these right side up and upside down buildings.
Yeah, you're talking about the initial wide shot of the city, right?
Yeah.
Where it's got those,
exactly.
It's got those, it's almost like something straight out of, old school sci-fi, where there's all these elevated walkways, And on the top, yeah, there's the buildings and the plants and all that stuff like you would see in all that old artwork. But this one, it's like, yeah, but I mean, you have this underside. What are they doing with that? And they just put structures down there, and that.
Yeah, it's all like sky architecture, basically.
Yeah, none of it makes sense, but it is very cool.
It looks great. Yeah.
And I guess if you don't have to worry about, the engineering aspects of it, like maybe they've got like anti-grav generators in there, it all works out. Yep.
That element of the design, whoever did the artwork for that, really props to them. Yeah. Really appreciate that.
And I've already talked about the whole ludicrousness of like just suddenly becoming post-scarcity overnight. But they say they acquired post-scarcity technology.
Yeah,
what does that
replicators,
even mean?
Basically, right?
Yeah, basically.
Like somebody gave them replicators.
Yeah, where did they get it from?
Great question.
Like, did the Federation give them those? Like, is that okay once a society achieves space travel or warp travel? You can just give them.
You just give them replicators
and the other thing is,
upend their whole society.
Can a replicator replicate a replicator? Because at that point, it's to the moon with the post-scarcity. Everybody's getting a replicator. You get a replicator. You get a replicator. Hey, you over there, we didn't get a replicator for that guy. He's getting one, though, because you're giving it to him. I mean, yeah, it's the von Neumann replicator situation.
Giving post-scarcity tech to a scarcity-based society has got to do some prime directive violating right there.
Yeah,
so they must have acquired it from somewhere.
The whole thing is, though, they're like, yeah, once they develop warp drive, we don't give a fuck anymore about their proper development.
I guess, yeah.
A weird, hard cutoff. That never made sense to me in context. But, whatevs.
I choose to believe that they met the criteria for admission into the Federation, so somebody just gave them replicator tech just to, like, uplift them a little bit, so they're not horrible members of the Federation.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
I don't think so. They probably developed warp drive. Federation ambassador showed up. They're like, hey, what's this replicator stuff you got there? And eventually, they just bought some replicators and then just started making them.
They got introduced to the scene. Yeah.
Some implication in like Star Trek, especially in like DS9 level, where there's a difference between like food replicators and like
industrial replicators.
So
yeah,
who knows? I don't know. I don't care. I like the episode. I like this plot, so I'll let them get away with anything.
Oh man, I love the. This is the first time we've really seen this kind of plot of them moving away from capitalism toward the post-scarcity tech, and the whole plot of these capitalists that can't let go. And they like their jewel-encrusted incompetence. It was pretty great. I loved seeing that kind of progression.
And it's one of those things that it's a level of absurdity that is, on the one hand, like the way it's portrayed is completely absurd. But anytime there are systemic changes, there's always those people that are trying to hold on to the old ways. So very true. It's very hilarious the way it's portrayed. I love the fact that, they're like trying to train their like servant robots to be like guards and soldiers.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, you gotta think though, I mean, again, it's a half-hour comedy show, as you pointed out to me. But you gotta think like these people in the wealth positions, they're gonna be smarter. I mean, they were clearly, we hear that Ransom tells them that there are pockets of terrorism, basically, he calls them, right? Yeah. Where like there's officers getting, so they're disorganized, but they're also rich and incompetent. So like, imagine if they had some competence, and they could have been actually a threat.
Yeah, and there may have been competent ones out there. That problem is when the numbers are against you, and when there's no value in retaining whatever you want to push, you're gonna lose no matter what.
Inevitable change coming down the pipe.
Inevitable change.
Speaking of the robots, how about the I forgot to water them? What the guys are in the
gardener robot.
That's so funny. I forgot to water them. That was great.
It's such a good bit. And then like later he mentions about like, is it the soil he needs or something? Oh yeah. His bits are just fantastic. And then, that whole resolution to that scene is they listen to his pointers.
Pointers.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? This is the part, I mean, we talked about it in the last episode about Boimler. He's trying to emulate his parallel self, and he's decided to do this by being he's trying to be the fun boss, but
I think
also
it's a great bit. I think this could be a good season arc for him.
I hope so.
Especially if they're going to keep doing the parallel story throughout this season. Him meeting other Boimlers and realizing he has to be his own man would be a great arc for him.
Totally. I mean, that's come up time and again, I feel like. It just needs to stick somehow.
In different ways, though, right? Now he's coming up against other versions of himself.
That's true. It's getting a little bit more personal, a little bit more real.
Yep.
How about the sharing com badge joke? I loved that bit.
Oh my god, and I especially love so the first one, it's all like, oh, I love that you're sharing a com badge. And it's like, that is totally Ransom. And then later it happens again, and Ransom is, Boimler, is there something wrong with your com badge?
So good.
Oh, and it again shows that Ransom is not totally incompetent. I think that's fantastic.
He's concerned. Yeah.
He notices something is wrong.
Yeah. Good for him. Just like the yanking the com badge off of Mariner's shirt to just try and talk into it. Yes, I love that bit.
That is very Boimler.
Speaking of com badges, when they're chasing after their ensigns and they turn out to be fine the whole time.
Yes.
But they had lost their com badges onto the guarding robot.
The animation in that whole exchange, they do not have com badges on until the end. After Mariner and Boimler get their com badges back. Which means that they had taken them off and hidden them.
It was part of their dying bit.
They're just on board for it and having a good time, and I love that. Absolutely fantastic. But I feel like we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves because
did we miss something?
Well, the way they get to the mansion, I think we need to talk about this.
Oh yeah. The bike?
Yeah, the hover bike.
Yeah.
The hover bike seems super dangerous. I feel like
really
you would
does.
just slide right off the back of it the minute you tried to go.
Yeah, I hope it has its own inertial dampener or something like that to prevent that, because that's the only explanation.
They've got inertial dampeners, but not replicators. Come on, people.
I guess so.
Get your technological priorities right.
They must have just replicated that one. Like some dude just because there's no material involved in construction. He just designed a back of the napkin speeder bike and replicated it, and it's okay.
Downloaded off of fed.net,
Exactly.
Ran it through the replicator, and oh man, I got a hover bike now. Yeah. Wow, fantastic.
Do we miss anything else? Or, I mean, the plot is fun, but you don't really, I mean, the whole thing is just showing off Boimler trying to be this fun boss and kind of doing this temporary reversal of roles with Mariner.
Yeah, I thought it was really well put together. I don't think we really missed much on it. I could talk for hours about how they're just getting rid of their gold and jewels. Why?
Yeah.
Is that
why would they do
standard
that?
Starfleet policy when a Federation member gets admitted? They just take all of their precious metals? That doesn't seem shady at all.
Especially when it's valuable, obviously Orions value it. It could be valuable to other cultures. So you're telling me that, the ship just shows up and you just dump it into the replicator waste and that's it?
Who the F knows, man? I don't want to dig that deep into this. This is a deep dive that does not need to happen.
Well, then let's talk about the whole Rutherford to Lynn subplot, I guess you could call it. Rutherford repairs a lot of malfunctioning doors, and the sounds those make are super scary. I feel like that could kill someone.
I'm sure it's got, sensors, so if there's too much resistive pressure when it tries to close, it just stops.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it just pops.
Oh, yeah.
Like the person.
Yeah, you stick your arm through a closing door and it just lobs it right off.
Pops it right off.
They were gonna throw some sort of sensors in there or something, but it's so what? We can just grow a new arm. No big deal.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
No, dude, that's dumb. God, freaking space OSHA, man.
I know. It really needs to take a look at those
stuck on this
whooshes.
doors thing, man. I think you need to let it go.
I don't think so. I think the doors are a critical part of this episode's plot. How about the Okie Nopi instead of the Okie Dokie?
I don't recall this happening at all. Are you sure this happened?
Talin, yeah.
Not imagining things?
Yeah, the subtitles say it and everything, the closed captions, when Talin surprises...
That doesn't seem right at all. Yeah, no, that seems made up.
Yeah. I mean, I know, that's why we're talking about it.
Oh my god. But yeah, I mean, are we going to talk about Talin and Rutherford? Yeah,
we absolutely should. I feel like Talin is purposefully taking on these human mannerisms. I don't know what you call them, social constructs, because she straight up says she's trying to deceive him into socializing like a human would do, and not very Vulcan-y.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that makes me wonder if she's not actually the alternate universe Talin. But also, you know, Talin's really owning it in these 2 episodes. I really love her character. So I think either way they go, with this being the alternate universe Talin or the prime universe Talin, I think it's going to work either way. So I'm down for whatever they do. Yeah, I don't think they really showed that much difference between the 2 Talins. No, and that's why I think it would be hilarious if it turned out they did swap. And there's not enough of a difference for it to impact anything. I will say, though, I did have one problem with Talin's portrayal in this episode. Oh, okay. She's like, I'll just stand over here and stare off into space. That seems like an illogical use of time. Do you not agree? Yeah. I mean, it's obviously done for lulz. I mean, obviously, but you know what? She loses interest almost immediately when she starts preparing by herself, right? Yeah, a bit ADHD Vulcan. I can totally see why they kicked her out of the Vulcan Science Command. Maybe she needs Guji to keep her on track. That's why Guji shows up in this episode. Guji pops back in, hiding in the disassembled shuttle. Helping her smash it up. Was he helping her smash it up, or was he just there? He drops a hammer and hides once the other characters come in. But he's definitely helping her disassemble it. I saw that he hid, but I totally missed that he had a hammer. Yeah, he was helping her disassemble it, deconstruct it. Yeah, man, I feel like I missed way more in these episodes than you did. Like, usually I'm on top of these things. It's the apple pie flavor. Really helps you focus. The apple pie is focusing you? I think so. But yeah, I totally, I really think that they're amping up Talin, and there's only so much you could do with dry Vulcan wit, and to be honest, if she is becoming more human-y, as they've kind of alluded to, she's not super Vulcan-y, in previous episodes, I'm here for it. I think that's going to make her a great part. I see. Vulcan culture is unacceptable to you. Correct. Yeah, I'm racist. Is basically, correct. And plus, did you see she drew herself on the Sequoia? Yeah, I loved that. I thought that was such a great addition. I almost totally forgot about that, and it definitely is a great sign of character growth. Yeah. Do you think so? In the last season, Talin was not in every episode. Do you think they're going to amp that up for this season? Because right now we're 2 for 2 with Talin. Yeah, and I think with the wider cast, we may see characters that just don't feature prominently in every episode, if that makes sense. Yeah, sure. I feel like we've had that in the past. And yeah, maybe there will be episodes where, somebody's not there, It could be. And like I said, they've been back and forth with Talin, but I'm wondering if she's more of a cast mainstay now, and they're going to put her in everything. I think we've covered everything. Have we missed anything on either Shades of Green or Dos Cerritos? Or yes, Dos Cerrito, actually, we have missed some things. Okay. I would love to talk about them now, but I can't remember what they are. Oh, that's the lack of apple pie talking. I think is that what it is? Is that what's caused my memory to fall apart? I think so. I think it's more the fact that we had 2 episodes and 2 drinks. And I feel like we've gone a bit overboard. On the other hand, I also kind of wish we had more episodes, more drinks. I wish we could keep going on into infinity. But sadly, there's not. But if you have the same craving that I do, and you have a stronger stomach than I do, you could grab yourself a jug of some shine and make your way into the backwoods. and find a young man putting on a one-man show of his Star Trek Lower Decks fan fiction.
Am I going to write some fan fiction? Will anyone read it?
Yes, you're going to write some fan fiction, Stavros. Nice deflection.
Thank you.